Welcome to video 1 of the Instructional Design video series for the Faculty of Business, Information Technology, and Part-Time Studies. This video will take a close look at the field of instructional design, as well as highlight the roles and responsibilities of an instructional designer. By the end of this training, you'll be able to 1. Define the term instructional design, 2. Identify the roles and responsibilities of an instructional designer, and number 3. Describe the 5 steps of the ADDIE model. This video will be broken down into the following parts. Part 1, what is instructional design? And Part 2, the ADDIE model in instructional design. You may use the timeline under this video to locate each part of the video. Part 1, what is instructional design? There's no doubt about it, instructional design is a lightning hot field right now. With COVID-19 capsizing higher education and forever changing the online learning landscape, many colleges and universities are in need of serious guidance. Instructional designers are uniquely poised to lead the way by designing online curriculums, coaching faculty, and piloting new educational technology. Instructional designers are going to be in high demand in the coming years, making it a great career choice even in today's unstable world economy. But what does an instructional designer do? What are the tasks and responsibilities of an instructional designer? To answer these questions, this video will start by looking closely at the following definition of instructional design. Instructional design involves creating learning experiences based on the unique needs of a specific audience or topic. To break this down, let's start by focusing on the second half of this definition, which identifies the unique needs of a specified audience or topic. To imagine how this plays out, let's take a look at 2 different scenarios. The first is where an instructional designer is tasked with creating a 1-hour workshop on the health risks of smoking for an audience of teenagers. The second being an instructional designer who is tasked with creating a 6-week-long course on grant writing for a group of mid-career corporate professionals. While the unique needs of each project require a different approach, the core responsibilities of the instructional designer remain more or less the same. They must design a learning experience that will effectively engage and inform each audience in order to generate the desired learning outcomes. To extend this out a bit to the specific context found within Fanshawe College, there are 3 methods or formats available for course delivery. Number 1, web facilitated. This is where coursework is completed during normal class hours in a face-to-face format, and the online component is used to supplement face-to-face time. Number 2, blended. This combines traditional face-to-face class time with online and out-of-class coursework. And number 3, online. All or almost all of the content is web-based with no or very small number of face-to-face meetings. Class time within fully online offerings can be either synchronous, where the teacher meets with the students via Zoom or another preferred video conferencing service, or asynchronous, which is where the student watches pre-recorded lectures. Micro-credentials are a good example of asynchronous offerings at Fanshawe College. In sum, instructional designers cater to the needs of each project and delivery format. They also build learning experiences that change depending on different age groups and demographics of the audience, while at the same time adapting those experiences to fit the required timeline and goals. Speaking about goals, let's revisit our definition of instructional design. Under the definition, you'll notice that there is a map with an X and a learner who is in obvious need of some assistance to get to the intended or targeted learning outcome. In this regard, instructional designers always start with the end in mind, and then work backwards from this point. What do the learners need to be able to say, think, and feel at the end of the experience? Whether the answer is cognitive, emotional, or attitudinal, identifying these goals helps to inform how the instruction is to be designed. With the second half of the definition addressed, let's now turn our focus to the first half of the definition, which highlights creating learning experiences. As explained so far in this video, instructional designers use a process that identifies the performance gaps of a target audience and then creating learning experiences that close this gap. The first part of the definition focuses on creating learning experiences as a whole, as opposed to just developing instruction. This focus on the learner, as opposed to the value of instruction itself, has been a recent industry-wide shift born out of a need to make the learning process more flexible, adaptable, and empathetic. We're now looking at it more from the learner's perspective, as opposed to what I want to teach you, or what I think you should learn. This practice is considered the fourth generation of instructional design, and is becoming known industry-wide as learning design. Therefore, as part of the design process, instructional designers not only help course developers design the instruction to meet the needs of the targeted audience, they also help faculty understand how to take their content and develop something that is learner-centered from it. To accomplish all of this, instructional designers tend to follow various design models that break the creation process into several distinct stages. The next part of this video will look at one of the most well-known and traditional instructional design models, called the ADDIE model, as well as break down the tasks that an instructional designer must complete within each phase. Part 2. The ADDIE model. For many years now, educators and instructional designers alike have used the ADDIE instructional design method or model as a framework for designing and developing educational and training programs. ADDIE stands for Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate. This sequence, however, does not impose a strict linear progression through the steps, even though the earliest ADDIE diagrams, like this one, are referred to as the waterfall models, in the sense that one would move downstream through the sequence of the 5 core stages without returning to any previous stage. Educators, instructional designers, and training developers find this approach very useful because having clearly defined stages facilitates implementation of effective training materials and tools. Let's take a closer look at each of the 5 stages of the ADDIE model, paying close attention to the first 3, Analyze, Design, and Develop, as this is when an instructional designer is likely to be heavily involved with the course design and development process. Phase 1. Analysis. Before designing a learning experience, an instructional designer must conduct a needs assessment to determine the instructional goals and learning objectives for the project at hand. In order to draw vital conclusions, instructional designers must do their research, including collecting data and conducting interviews with various stakeholders, including subject matter experts, also known as SMEs. Through this process, the designer should be able to develop a firm grasp of the situation and how instruction can be used strategically to address it. Fortunately, most of the heavy lifting during Stage 1 of the ADDIE model has already been completed during Stage Gate 1 of the Program Excellence Model by the Center for Academic Excellence at Fanshawe College. The Program Excellence Model guides the development, continuous quality improvement, and formal review of all academic programming at the college. To gather additional information about the Stage Gate 1 process, please refer to the Codebook, one of the key resources available to all course developers. Video 2 of the Instructional Design video series will review all the course supports that are available at Fanshawe College for course design and development, including the Center for Academic Excellence and the Codebook. Phase 2. Design. The design phase, some may argue, is the most robust of the instructional development process. During this phase, designers must look at the big picture of the instruction, determine the goals, and ensure that the means for reaching those goals are all set in place prior to embarking on the development. There are 3 internal steps within the overall design phase. Step 1. Set instructional goals. In this step, instructional designers will work with stakeholders to review the needs assessment and establish an instructional goal or instructional goals based on their findings. They must determine what it is that the stakeholders want the learner to be able to say, think, and feel at the end of the experience. Again, most of the program vocational learning outcomes, the essential employability skills, as well as the course level outcomes, have been already mapped by the Center for Academic Excellence at Fanshawe College. Step 2. Establish key learning objectives. Once an instructional goal has been established, the next step is to break that goal down into a series of learning objectives. It is at this step, at Fanshawe College, when an instructional designer plays a crucial role in helping faculty develop strategies to create objectives that align with the content, course materials, as well as assessments to measure their success. To state this differently, it is important that the course content is designed where the instruction meets the needs that have been identified. An instructional designer is also able to help course developers take the content and develop something that is learner-centered from it. Step 3. Work with SMEs, or subject matter experts, to identify relevant content. Oftentimes, while an instructional designer has the process, the knowledge, the grounding, the theory, and the science needed to develop the content, they may not have the content knowledge. This is why instructional designers must work directly with SMEs, or subject matter experts, to decide what content will be the most useful in helping learners reach their goals. Alongside content recommendations, SMEs often have vital insights into an audience's needs and learning style. They may also be able to inform what media and delivery modes should be used for the instruction, help weigh assessment opportunities, and much, much more. Within the design phase, there is usually a period of time dedicated or allocated towards prototyping, which presents an opportunity to communicate and/or test out the ideas gathered during the design phase. Within the Faculty of Business, Information Technology, and Part-Time Studies, faculty will have the opportunity to work with the assigned instructional designer to build out a prototype within Fanshawe Online. This process will be covered in Video 6 of the Instructional Design video series. Phase 3. Development. Once the framework of the instruction has been designed and an initial round of prototyping has been completed, the creation phase of the instructional design process can begin. During development, instructional designers must make a series of crucial decisions that will shape the final product. One important development decision is the kinds of materials that are needed to complete the learning experience or instruction. Is there a need for custom books, worksheets, handouts, or faculty guides? How will the information be best communicated to the audience? The instructional designer will help the course developer with most of these decisions based again on the audience and instructional goals. The kind of technology, if any, that will be used for the instruction should also be considered during the development phase. Will the instruction be delivered via video? Will it involve the use of a learning management system? Will it require a digital assessment? These types of decisions are important during the design of a course, and in some cases the conclusions reached at this stage also inform whether or not a technology specialist needs to be brought in. The instructional designer keeps a focus on how the learning will be evaluated through the entire design process, and helps the course developer build out that evaluation system during the development phase. Phase 4. Implement. During the implementation stage, everything that has been planned and theorized during phases 1 through 3 is finally brought to life. Whether this happens through a pilot or a full rollout of the instruction, implementation is when tools and materials are distributed and all involved parties prepare for the live application. The educators who will administer the instruction or learning experience to the targeted audience will review the instructional delivery and presentation methods, any specific guidance, and sometimes the material itself. Phase 5. Evaluate. The last phase of the ADDIE method is evaluate. This is the last stage in which the course is subjected to meticulous final testing regarding the what, how, why, and when of what was accomplished or not accomplished during the entire project, or the 5 stages of the ADDIE model. This phase can be broken down into 2 parts, formative and summative. The main goal of the evaluation stage is to determine if the goals have been met and to establish what will be required moving forward in order to further the efficiency and success rate of the course. In summary, instructional design is a systematic process by which learning experiences are designed, developed, and delivered. As you can see, a great deal of the course development process rests on the instructional designer's shoulders. From analyzing audience needs to developing materials, the instructional design process helps improve the reliability and consistency of a learning experience by identifying the skills, knowledge, and attitude gaps of a targeted audience, and then creating, selecting, and suggesting learning experiences that close this gap. The next video, or video 2 of the Instructional Design video series, will provide an overview of Quality Matters, as well as take a more in-depth look at the campus-wide supports that are available to course developers at Fanshawe College, as well as those working within the Faculty of Business, Information Technology, and Part-Time Studies. Thank you for watching.